Once upon a time, in a far-off land, there lived a humble couple who longed for a child. They were kind-hearted and loved each other dearly, but their happiness was incomplete without a child. One day, the woman discovered she was pregnant, and their joy knew no bounds. However, during her pregnancy, she developed insatiable craving for a plant called Rapunzel that grew in their neighbour garden. The plant was lush and green, with leaves that glistened in the sunlight, and it looked so delicious that she couldn't resist it. Her husband, a man of great courage and love for his wife, decided to fulfill her wish. Every night, under the cover of darkness, he would sneak into the neighbour's garden, steal some Rapunzel. He would then prepare it for his wife, who relished it immensely. But one fateful night, the witch who owned the garden caught him. She was a formidable figure, with piercing eyes and a voice that echoed in the night. The witch demanded the couple's baby in return for the stolen Rapunzel. The man, desperate to save his wife's life and filled with guilt for his actions, agreed to the deal. Time passed, and they were blessed with a beautiful daughter. But their happiness was short-lived as the witch came to claim her promise. She took the baby away, naming her Rapunzel after the plant that had started it all. As Rapunzel grew, so did her hair. It was as golden as the rays of the sun, and it shone brightly, reaching an extraordinary length. The witch, wanting to keep Rapunzel all to herself, locked her in a tall, secluded tower with no doors or stairs, only a small window at the very top. The witch would visit Rapunzel by standing beneath the tower and calling out, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Rapunzel would then let down her long golden hair, and the witch would climb up. One day a prince was wandering in the forest when he heard a melodious voice that seemed to be carried by the wind. It was Rapunzel, passing her time by singing from her window in the tower. The beautiful voice enchanted the prince, and he felt an irresistible urge to follow the voice to its source. He ventured deeper into the forest, guided by the sweet melody, until he found a tower hidden amongst the dense trees. The tower was tall and imposing, with no visible doors or stairs. The prince looked up and saw a figure at the small window at the very top. It was Rapunzel, her golden hair shining in the sunlight. He was struck by her beauty and the loneliness that seemed to surround her. The prince observed the tower from a distance and saw the witch visit Rapunzel. He watched as the witch called out, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." And Rapunzel let down her long golden hair, which the witch used to climb up the tower. The prince was filled with a sense of dread and anger at the witch for keeping Rapunzel locked away. Once the witch had left, the prince approached the tower. His heart pounded in his chest as he called out, "Rapunzel! Rapunzel! Let down your hair!" just as he had heard the witch do. To his relief, Rapunzel let down her hair, and the prince climbed up. When Rapunzel saw the prince, she was initially frightened, as she had never seen a man before. But the prince spoke to her gently, telling her about the outside world and the freedom she could have. Rapunzel was captivated by his words and the kindness in his eyes. They talked for hours, and by the time the prince had to leave, they had formed a deep connection. The prince promised to free Rapunzel from the tower and began to visit her every day. He brought her books and flowers, told her stories of his adventures, and made her laugh with his jokes. They shared their hopes and dreams, and over time, they fell deeply in love. However, their happiness was short-lived. The witch discovered their secret meetings. In her rage, she cut off Rapunzel's beautiful hair and banished her to a desolate place. When the prince came to visit Rapunzel, the witch tricked him by letting down Rapunzel's cut-off hair. When he climbed up, the witch confronted him. Shocked and heartbroken, the prince tried to escape but fell from the tower. He survived the fall, but thorns below the tower pierced his eyes, blinding him. The prince, devastated and blind, searched far and wide for Rapunzel. He journeyed through forests and mountains, braving many dangers, until he finally found her. Their reunion was bittersweet, filled with joy and tears. Rapunzel's tears of joy fell on his eyes, which had been blinded by the witch's curse, and miraculously healed them. Together, they returned to the prince's kingdom. They were welcomed with open arms, and there was much rejoicing in the kingdom. The prince and Rapunzel got married in a grand ceremony attended by everyone in the kingdom. They lived happily ever after, their love story becoming a legend told over generations. The story teaches us the importance of hope in the face of adversity, the power of love, and the consequences of deceit. It also reminds us that freedom and independence are precious gifts that should never be taken for granted.